I never believed one person could split your life into two pieces, before him and after him. But that's exactly what happened with Ryan. He walked into my world so quietly, as if he belonged there from the beginning, and he left with the same quietness, except he didn't leave alone. He took parts of me I didn't realize I'd given him, and for the longest time, I thought I had lost. I thought he had played me, broken me, fooled me so deeply that I would never recover. But that was before I discovered the one thing he never wanted anyone to know, the one truth he had buried deeper than all his lies. And once I found it, everything changed. Because this time, I wasn't the fool. This time, I was ready. I still remember the first day we met. It was nothing dramatic, nothing cinematic, just a rainy afternoon, a crowded bookstore, and a man who bumped into me while trying to shake water off his jacket. He apologized with that half smile that people use when they know they're charming. And I laughed the way people laugh when they want to seem polite, but not too eager. He asked what I was reading. I asked why he cared. He shrugged and said he liked the sound of my voice. Looking back, I should have known. Men like him always start with charm. But I didn't know then. I didn't know anything. We started spending time together. First coffee, then long walks, then the late night calls, the kind where silence feels like a conversation. He had a way of making me feel seen. He would ask questions nobody asked me, real questions, ones that made me open up without noticing. And he listened, or at least he pretended to. I didn't realize that every piece of my past I handed him was being stored, labeled, and prepared for a day he might use it. It wasn't love at first sight. It was trust at first comfort, and that was my mistake. For months, I thought we were building something real. He made plans for the future. He told me he had never met someone who understood him. He spoke in soft tones that sounded genuine. And I believed him, because back then, I still believed people told the truth. But little cracks started appearing. Small lies, half explanations, strange phone calls in the middle of the night. He'd step outside to talk, but return with a smile too calm, too practiced. I asked if everything was okay. He always said yes, and I always nodded as if that was enough. The truth? I didn't want to know he was lying. I wanted to believe the man I cared about wouldn't betray me. That's how fools think. That's how I thought. The real turning point came on a night that should have been perfect. We had plans, simple ones, dinner, a movie, and maybe a long drive afterwards. But he never showed up. He didn't call, he didn't text, nothing. I spent hours waiting, staring at the clock, convincing myself something must have happened. Maybe his phone died. Maybe he got sick. Maybe anything other than the truth. At midnight, a message finally came. Sorry, got caught up with something. Talk tomorrow. Something? That word stabbed harder than any explanation could have. The next day, he acted normal, as if nothing happened. No apology, no guilt, just that little smirk he used whenever he wanted me to drop a subject. And I almost did. I almost let it pass, until I saw something. Something small, something stupid. A piece of paper sticking out of his jacket pocket. My name, my handwriting. It was a note I'd written months ago. Something personal, something vulnerable. Why was he carrying it now? When he went to the bathroom, I pulled it out, and behind the note was something else. Another paper, scribbled with details about me, my fears, my past mistakes, my weaknesses, things I had told him in confidence. He had written them down. My heart dropped. Why would someone who loved me need a list of my vulnerabilities? That day, something inside me woke up. A quiet voice, sharp and cold. A voice that said, "You're being played." From then on, I observed him differently. I noticed how often he manipulated conversations, how he twisted my words, how he made me doubt myself. Gaslighting wrapped in affection, lies sweetened with smiles. His patterns became clear once I stopped looking through the lens of trust. Then came the moment that broke everything. I was at his apartment one evening, waiting for him because he was running late. My phone battery died and I needed a charger. So I went to his study, somewhere he usually kept extra cables. The drawer was locked. That alone was strange. Who locks a drawer in his own home? My curiosity flared, and I opened the small box where he kept spare keys. One of them fit. Inside were dozens of files. Not work documents, not bills, files about people. Real people, with details like the ones he wrote about me. Weaknesses, fears, secrets. Some entries had notes next to them. Easy, emotional, useful, dangerous, avoid. My name was on the 5th file. Beside it, he had written one single word: leverage. My knees almost buckled. I felt sick, cold, hollow. The man I cared about wasn't just a liar. He was a collector of people's secrets, a manipulator, someone who used information as a weapon, someone who studied human emotions the way hunters study footprints. I closed the drawer, locked it, put everything back exactly the way I found it. And then I sat on the edge of his bed and breathed slowly, forcing my shaking hands to still. He thought I was a fool. He thought I would never find out. He thought he was untouchable. That night, something inside me hardened. No more tears, no more doubt, no more fear. Only one objective remained: take him down using the one thing he valued most, his own secret. Over the next few days, I played the part he expected. Sweet, forgiving, trusting. I let him think I still believed him. I let him feel invincible. That was the key. Men like him fall hardest when they think they're in control. Meanwhile, I began collecting everything. Every document, every pattern, every note from his files. I made copies. I backed up everything to multiple encrypted drives. And the more I found, the darker the truth became. Ryan didn't just manipulate, he profited from it. Advice, investments, favors. He used people's emotional vulnerabilities to gain leverage in ways that were technically legal, but morally rotten. He was a puppeteer, pulling strings no one else could see. Then I found the real secret, the one he had hidden deeper than all the others. A 3-letter folder in an encrypted drive. EME. When I cracked it, everything made sense. He wasn't working alone. There was a small circle, people just like him, a network built on exploitation. They shared information, traded secrets, used people as stepping stones. And Ryan wasn't just a member, he was one of the founders. And the best part? Their entire operation depended on trust between them. If one of them betrayed the others, the whole thing would collapse. I smiled for the first time in weeks. because I knew exactly what I was going to do. Slowly, quietly, I prepared my move, one message at a time. I leaked small fragments to his partners, anonymous drops, just enough to spark suspicion, just enough to fracture their unity. Then, I released the final blow. Evidence that Ryan had been collecting information on them too. Their weaknesses, their dirty secrets, the same way he collected ours. The group imploded. He was cut off, confronted, and thrown out of the network he built. His reputation, gone. His connections, gone. His influence, gone. Everything he spent years manipulating and controlling shattered into pieces he could never put back together. He called me, first calmly, then angrily, then desperately. I didn't answer. Finally, he showed up at my door, eyes wild, voice trembling. "Why are you doing this? I cared about you." I looked him dead in the eyes. "You played me for a fool. I just returned the favor." He didn't speak after that. He just stood there, realizing for the first time in his life that someone had outplayed him, someone he underestimated, someone he thought he controlled. He walked away silently, and I shut the door behind him. And that was the moment I understood something important. You don't need to break someone to win. You just need to show them they never had the power they thought they had. He used secrets to control people. I used his secret to free myself. He tried to write my story. I rewrote his ending. And in the end, the fool wasn't me.
After Ryan walked away that night, I thought the story was over. I thought silence would be enough, that I could take a deep breath, close my door, and finally let my shoulders rest after months of carrying a weight I never asked for. But I should have known better. People like him don't disappear quietly. They don't accept consequences. They don't let go. They circle back, searching for loopholes, crawling toward any weakness left behind. And even though I shut the door, I could still feel the echo of his presence lingering in the air, like the aftertaste of something bitter. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. No messages, no calls, no chaotic knocks at my door, just a stillness that made me uneasy. Because quietness with Ryan never meant peace. It meant planning. I stayed alert. I checked my locks twice. I monitored every notification, every unfamiliar number, every shadow under my doorway. I wasn't scared, just aware. I had learned the hard way that ignoring danger doesn't make it disappear. It just makes you easier to surprise. On the fourth day, it began. An email. No name, no greeting, just one line. "You think this is over?" I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. If he wanted to play games, he would have to play alone. I wasn't stepping into his arena again, not on his terms. But the next morning, another message came. Not to me, to my coworkers, my friends, even my landlord. Anonymous claims, twisted versions of stories I once told him in confidence. He had taken pieces of my life and sharpened them like knives, sending them out one by one to the people around me. Except none of it worked, because while he was busy throwing shadows, I had already brought my truth into the light. I had already told the people who mattered what he was capable of. I had already insulated myself from the fallout. And as each of his messages arrived, I calmly sent screenshots of his file drawer, his notes, his network, the proof of what he had done. Within hours, he looked ridiculous, desperate, exposed. He tried again, harder. "Do you think you know everything about me? You don't understand what you've done." "You're making a mistake." Every message carried the tone of a man losing control, and the more control he lost, the uglier his words became. But I stayed silent. Nothing breaks a manipulator more deeply than someone who refuses to play. On the 7th day, he switched tactics. He stopped attacking and started begging. Long messages, long paragraphs, long confessions, layers of emotional manipulation dressed as vulnerability. I only kept those files to protect myself. "You misread everything. I did love you. We can fix this. We can start over." I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then he sent the real message, the one that revealed everything. "If you come back, I swear I'll delete everything. I'll give it all up. Just don't leave me alone like this." The helplessness in his tone wasn't sadness. It was fear. Fear of being powerless. Fear of being exposed. Fear of being seen for who he really was. That's when I realized something important. He didn't love me. He loved control. I had taken it away, and now he didn't know how to breathe without it. I didn't reply to that message either. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt the weight of everything settle into a different shape. Not pain, not anger, just quiet understanding. Not every enemy needs to be defeated. Some destroy themselves when you remove the audience they perform for. I thought that was the end, but endings rarely arrive when we expect them. They slip in through side doors, disguised as ordinary moments. 2 weeks later, I received another email. Not from Ryan, from someone else. Someone I didn't know. I worked with him. Attached was a single audio file. I hesitated for a moment, then pressed play. The voice that came through was calm, professional, detached. Someone who didn't care about emotions, only facts. We removed him from every system. He no longer has access. His contacts have cut him off. His reputation is finished. I paused the audio. My heart was beating fast, not out of fear, but anticipation. I pressed play again. "But that's not why I'm messaging you. I'm messaging you because he's been trying to get back into the network. He's been offering money, information, anything. He says you're responsible for everything he's lost. He said he'll do whatever it takes to get leverage again." A cold wave washed over me, but the voice continued. "We don't care about your personal conflict, but we are sending this to you because you need to know something. He's not angry at losing us. He's angry at losing you." The audio clicked off. No signature, no follow-up. I sat there staring at the screen, absorbing every word. He wasn't trying to rebuild his power. He was trying to rebuild ownership. And I had become the one thing he couldn't control, couldn't predict, couldn't get back. People always say revenge is dramatic, fiery, explosive. But that's a lie. Real revenge is quiet. It's watching the person who tried to break you crumble under the weight of their own choices. And Ryan was crumbling. Over the next month, his presence faded. Fewer messages, then none. No sightings, no noise, just absence. Then one day, a final envelope appeared under my door. My name, his handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "I finally understand. You weren't the fool. I was." No apology, no excuses, just that one sentence. And for the first time, I felt something close to closure. Not because he admitted defeat, but because he finally saw the truth I had known for months. He didn't lose me. He lost the version of himself he pretended to be. After that, the silence felt different, softer, safe. I started living again, slowly, carefully, but freely. I met new people. I rebuilt trust, not the naive kind I once had, but the grounded kind that grows from knowing your own strength. And every now and then, when I walk past the places where we used to go, I don't feel bitterness. I feel clarity. I see the version of myself who once doubted her instincts, who once clung to someone who wasn't worth holding,
who once believed lies wrapped in affection. And I want to reach back and tell her, you are stronger than you think you are. You're smarter than he ever imagined. And one day, you'll turn his biggest secret into your greatest power. In the end, revenge wasn't about destroying him. It was about reclaiming myself. And I did. I won. I won't pretend it didn't change me. It did. It made me sharper, wiser, quieter. It made me understand the value of boundaries, the danger of blind trust, and the strength hidden inside silence. But most of all, it taught me this. No one can play you for a fool unless you hand them the script. And I have stopped handing my script to anyone. Not anymore. I didn't see Ryan again after that final letter. And strangely, I didn't need to. His absence didn't feel like an empty space anymore. It felt like a room finally aired out after years of suffocation. I could breathe again. Slowly at first, then fully, deeply, without flinching at shadows or questioning my own reality. Life didn't rush back all at once. It came in soft, steady waves. Morning sunlight through my window, coffee that tasted normal again, conversations that didn't feel like traps, smiles that didn't hide calculations, trust that grew on its own, without force. I realized that freedom isn't loud. Freedom feels like coming home to yourself. One evening months later, I was sitting at a quiet cafe, watching people go by. They moved with that effortless ease of lives untouched by manipulation. For a moment, I envied them. Then I reminded myself that surviving what I survived didn't make me broken. It made me aware. It made me someone who could see through masks, someone who could choose better, someone who understood the cost of silence and the power of stepping away. That kind of clarity isn't a burden, it's a gift. I thought about everything I'd lost because of him. Time, energy, innocence, trust. But then I thought about everything I'd gained because I fought back. Strength, boundaries, confidence, peace. And that was worth more than anything he ever took. Some people leave scars. Others leave lessons. Ryan was both. But of the two, the lesson mattered more. A soft breeze brushed across my face as I looked out the cafe window. And for the first time, I didn't feel the weight of the past sitting on my shoulders. I felt light, whole, present. I finally understood that the true revenge wasn't exposing him. It wasn't watching him fall apart. It wasn't even turning his secret against him. The real revenge was becoming someone he could never touch again. Because the moment you stop needing closure from the person who hurt you, that's the moment you win. The moment you stop replaying conversations in your head, stop searching for explanations, stop wishing they could see your worth, that's when the story ends. That's when their power disappears. That's when you get your life back. As I finished my coffee and stepped outside, the world looked different. Not because it had changed, but because I had. I wasn't the person who once let someone else write chapters of my story. I wasn't the person who ignored red flags just to feel loved. I wasn't the person who let charm blind them to truth. I wasn't a fool. Not anymore. I walked down the quiet street, the city lights reflecting on the pavement like scattered stars, and felt a calm certainty settle inside me. My life was mine again. Every decision, every hope, every breath. And no matter who crossed my path next, I would never hand my power away so easily. Maybe Ryan would continue drifting through life, searching for someone new to manipulate, someone new to study. someone new to use. Maybe he would never change. Maybe he would. But it didn't matter. His story had nothing to do with mine anymore. I had turned the page long before he even realized the book was closing. And as the night air wrapped around me, soft and cool, I whispered a truth I now carried with pride. You didn't break me. You built me. Sometimes the strongest version of yourself is born from the moment you walk away. And I walked away for good.